All of this and more is available at the Village Bake Shop, open from 6 to 6 Monday through Friday and 6 to 5 on Saturday. The Village Bake Shop's located at the Village Green Town Center and has been satisfying Cleveland's sweet tooth since 1961. Give them a call at 476-5179 or come and see them at the Village Green Town Center.
Brownies, cupcakes, wedding and birthday cakes, muffins, pies, Danish.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson on Woo FM. Call 423-614-5553 to join in on the conversation. Now, back to Backfire.
All right, we're back here live in the studio here at Village Green Town Center. And we will open up the phone lines now. Let's talk about drilling permits. You know, I'm sitting here looking at some things. It came up in the debate last night. Bill Clinton raised in America his drilling permits that he approved for were 58% higher. George Bush went up 116%, while Mr. Obama, the drilling permits he approved went down 36%.
Well, actually, offshore permits went down 63%.
Well,
on land permits went down, which, to be honest, Obama, I don't know whether he lied or he didn't know, but Romney was right when he said you've decreased by approximately half.
Actually, the services fact-checked this last night, and they were both correct, believe it or not.
How can they be correct if he decreased permits 63%?
Well, first of all, you're mixing apples and oranges. That's not what Romney said. He didn't say you decreased permits. He said there was less drilling on federal lands.
Actually, in the testy argument back and forth, what Romney was repeatedly saying is, all right, fine, Mr. President, how much have you decreased permits? What percentage did you decrease permits?
And the answer to that question was
63%.
Well, but the president's response turned out to be accurate.
You mean what's the definition of is?
No. What he said was correct. They pulled permits from people who weren't using them, who were just letting them sit there and not use them, and that's being treated as a decrease, even though they're in the process of reletting them out to other people.
The week before, the president made the statement that oil production was up. What he didn't it is. You're right. But what he didn't tell the public is it's up only on private and state-owned land. It's actually significantly down on federal land.
And that was the fact checking.
And that was the whole point that Romney's making. The federal government ought to be increasing the permitting, increasing the production, not decreasing.
But that was the point that was being made. You had a whole bunch of permits that had been let in the past to people who simply weren't drilling on them.
All right, but that's fine. But I'm not talking about permits now. I'm talking about production. Well, the president said
production's up
on private land.
Production overall is up.
But Franklin,
John,
the president's control of federal land, he has decreased production. Yes or no? On federal land that he controls, has it gone up or gone down?
I don't know the answer.
It's gone down significantly. The only reason we have more oil production in this country under his administration is because of private individuals and private land.
And new technology.
Yeah. Which also was supported by the administration, by
except
the way.
where they're suing the fracking people, except where the new rules on mountaintop mining. I mean, the EPA has destroyed the coal industry. Matter of fact, what's bad about it is...
natural gas is destroying the coal industry.
I don't disagree that natural gas is eating into the coal.
You're supposed to be a market guy, John.
I am a market.
Okay? The market
point,
is being affected by things other than what you're talking about.
And I don't have a problem with
that. Those are bigger factors.
It's not a bigger factor than the EPA. When you have an EPA chief
I don't know
who
about
says,
you, John, but I actually don't want part of the mountains in the Cherokee National Forest to have the tops pushed off of them to mine coal
when you have an EPA, a political appointee like President Obama did, who says he views his position as to go in like the Romans did into a village and crucify the first 5 people you find so the rest of them are easier to control, that's an EPA out of control. And that's a federal government who views itself as the king or dominant over the people instead of the reverse of that.
Food stamps, did they come up in the debate last night?
Romney mentioned that when Obama took office, there were somewhere around 32 million people on food stamps, and now there's about 49 million people on food stamps.
Isn't that what you would expect in a terrible recession?
I don't know. I thought it was the summer of recovery 2 years ago, and then the summer of recovery last year, and then the summer of recovery, and that we're getting better. If we're getting better, why are more people on food stamps?
You know, if you're creating jobs, I wouldn't think there'd be you'd have this.
I mean, this
increase.
president can't make up his mind. Is it the best economy after 4 years, or is it just a horrible economy?
Well, let's talk about what the facts really
Let's
are.
take a call. Go ahead, caller. You're live.
Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
Good, good.
I've just got a concern, really. You was talking about food stamps a while ago.
I'm talking about what?
You just mentioned food stamps a while ago.
Sure.
Seems like we're supposed to be getting another raise here in January, $12 on the Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
And what I don't understand, it seems like every time I get a raise, my brother's food stamps drop. He was getting 80-something, now it's down to 30. And I thought the whole thing was supposed to be to get people ahead, but it seems to me like every time he gets a raise, he's still going in the hole. I've been on Social Security now for 10 months, and I can't even afford health care right now. So I just wanted you to just comment on that, and I'll hang up and listen to you.
Now, you said, let me see if I've got this straight.
Yeah.
You were talking about you got a small raise with Social Security, but your food stamps went down?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It does it all the time. And another thing I don't understand is that plus what makes your stamps go down, like if you're in a house and you're paying your electricity, but he had to move out of his house because it was up for sale. Now he lives in a place where he don't pay his electricity, and that also made his food stamps.
May I ask you a couple of questions
Yeah.
before you hang up? You're drawing Social Security. I assume you're 62 or older?
I'm 64.
Okay, 64. And your own food stamps.
No, his brother is on the food stamps.
Oh,
Yeah, he's talking about his brother.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's talking about your brother then.
Yeah, well, I'm on Social Security retirement now.
Okay, you're on Social Security retirement because you're over 65?
64.
Well, you can sign up for retirement at 62.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, I don't.
Well, let me ask you, I'm going to keep going here.
Yeah.
How are you going to vote in this next election? Do you mind just sharing it? We haven't got your name, so it doesn't matter. Are you going to vote for Mr. Obama or for Mr. Romney? Have you made up your mind yet?
I've not made up my mind yet. I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the debates? Did you watch the debate last night?
I watched a little bit.
Uh-huh. What did you think about the debate before that? Did you watch that one with
No, I didn't.
Romney or anyone?
No.
Or Biden? I'm sorry, Vice President. Well, anyway,
This is Steve Hickson, right?
that's who it is.
Yeah, I knew you from Arnold Junior High School.
Well, you know what? If you've been in Arnold School, I know you're a local.
Are you telling us that Steve Hickson is 64 years old?
No, I went there in '63 when I went to Arnold Junior. I went to Ronnie Wire and all them.
Well, I know that we're somewhat close. I won't even ask you who you are unless you want to tell us on the air.
Well, I don't care. Tell you, my name's Robert Goins.
Robert Goins. Okay. Well, Robert, good having you call in. Is there anything else you want to ask?
No, I just was really concerned about. I don't know if there can be any ever changes. I don't understand why every time seems like they give you a little raise and something always drops, and I don't understand that. I don't know if there's anything ever can be done about that or what. Maybe
You know, Robert, let me ask you this: what are we supposed to do? We don't have enough money. We're paying out more than we're taking in now.
Yeah.
And how are we supposed to continue giving more money when we're taking in less?
Well, I don't understand really, but I would tell you how much I'm drawing, but I'm kind of ashamed of it. Like I say, I don't have no health insurance or nothing right now, but when I get 65, hopefully there'll still be a Medicare, and I can get on Medicare. But I'm just kind of making it from month to month. And but my brother is more. He draws a lot more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, I'm gonna just listen to you guys here for a little bit and see what you say about all this.
All right. Well, listen. Thanks for calling.
Yeah,
Continue to listen.
Okay, appreciate it.
Uh-huh. Well, what's your opinion of that one, Franklin?
Well, he raises a lot of different issues there. It's true. I think Social Security recipients are going to receive a 1.9% cost of living increase this year. That's the lowest one in more than a decade at least. That's tied to the inflation rate. So as a whole, the inflation rate is down, but that affects what those folks are going to get. It's also true that Medicare premium increases will take up most of that increase that they'll receive. That's a fact. So that's one side of it. The food stamp side of it, well, we've been in a terrible recession. There's no doubt about that. Irrespective of who we want to blame or who we think can fix it, the fact is a lot of people have had a hard time. And I think, that's a fact. The food stamp program, gets politicized a lot, but one thing that gets overlooked is that both parties have been complicit in creating a system that has more than one intended effect. One of it is to help folks who are struggling to get by. But there's a secondary one that doesn't get talked about, and that is it's intended to help prop up farmers around the country, because a lot of their excess production is targeted by food stamps in the hopes of helping that industry. Whether that's good or bad, that's one of the things that's done frequently by government. I think John would agree that one of the problems that government sometimes has is that we do a lot of programs that are intended to do a lot of different things, and those things sometimes are at cross purposes with each other.
Well, I think that the more government gets involved and the farther the government is away from the public, the more complicated it becomes. And he's right. They'll give it to you on one hand and they'll take it away on the other hand. This is a really hard truth. And I think one of the reasons a lot of us were excited about someone like Paul Ryan being on the ticket was that Paul Ryan has at least been willing to say, we can't keep doing this. And the fact of the matter is, when we talk about the Department of Agriculture and propping up this, we talk about bailouts, it's all unconstitutional. When we founded this country, the founders never intended for the government to be involved in our lives and certainly in our businesses the way it is. And the fact of the matter is, you'll hear these people talk about how tough the poverty is as far as for free enterprise and capitalism. When we founded this country, we were probably one of the poorest countries in the world. And 200 years later, because of free enterprise, because of freedom, we're the richest country in the world. We don't need to be going towards more government planning like this president wants. We need to be going away from it. We need, one of the things the Republicans have talked about, and you've heard Mitt Romney talk about this, is sending some of this money in block grants to the states. Instead of letting the federal bureaucracy manage this money, send it to the state and say, hey, you want to take care of food stamps? Manage it in Tennessee the way it works best for Tennessee. And we're going to send the money to New York for them to manage the New York the way it works best in New York. One federal bureaucracy imposed on all of us has to be inefficient, and it leads to things just like the caller's talking about. It leads to rules where you giveth with one hand, you take away with the other. And the really sad part is, most of the time, and maybe I'm very pessimistic, the guys that are giving it to you, they're not really trying to help you. They just want your vote.
Yeah. Let's talk about capital gains.
Sure. It's probably one of the most significant philosophical debates that's going on in the country.
It's actually one of the places that I think the president's being one of the most disingenuous when he talks about Romney only paying 15%. What he doesn't make sure people understand is the reason he only pays 15% is he doesn't earn a paycheck income. He earns investment income off of stocks and things like that.
What did you think about Romney last night when he went up to the president and told him that he earned money overseas also?
I thought that was a pretty good gotcha moment, because
I thought the president's response was a pretty good one too.
But the president's response is class warfare.
He did,
and it was an insulting response.
His response was he didn't know where his money was.
Response was to paint Mitt as this rich guy, which he is a rich guy. But the point is that has nothing to do with what the argument was. The president had said that Romney had all these investments overseas. Romney said, all of my investments for the last 8 years have been in a blind trust, which means I don't have any control over what they buy or don't buy. And then he turned around and said, Mr. President, aren't your investments in a blind trust? Well, yeah, but I don't look at it. And he said, well, guess what? You have investments overseas as well. You have investments in China. So the very thing that the president has criticized Ms. Romney for, he did exactly. And Franklin, you're right. He may have won the point by being completely disingenuous. He turned around and went, well, you're a big rich guy. John. Franklin, what point did you're a rich guy have to do with the actual facts?
That wasn't the point of what he said. the point of what he said was that this candidate, Mitt Romney, has touted himself as being this big job creator. When the fact is,
he has been.
When
He
the
has
fact,
been.
when the
He
fact,
has been.
when the fact is,
He's got proof. He has
much of
been.
the money that he's earned has come from outsourcing jobs.
How many
to other
jobs?
places.
How many
Actually,
jobs?
facts.
How many
Franklin-
jobs has President Obama created in his life? How many jobs?
Well,
Tell me one.
almost 5 million.
No, he
according to
hasn't.
the.
Well, first off,
Let's take a
population
call.
grew by more than 5 million.
Let's take
we
a
haven't
call.
even kept up with population.
Go ahead, caller.
Good morning. This is Ron Moore. How you doing this morning?
Good,
Morning,
Ron. How
Ron.
are you?
I know I've heard John say there.
How many? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's one of the most powerful countries in the world. We have the most profitable country in the world, and that happened. Since welfare and food stamps has come in, this country continued to grow tremendously, and so we can't blame welfare and food stamps on the problem. There are problems there, yes, and we can correct those problems. But both sides, Democrats and Republicans, neither one want to sit down and meet and correct the problems. They're easy problems to fix, but
Ron,
I
the
think
problem with the welfare and food stamps, Ron, is you said the last 40 years we've still grown. The problem is poverty hasn't changed. When you've spent billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on a supposed solution for a problem, and after 40 years the problem is the same, if not worse, most sensible people would say the solution's not working.
That's right.
you and I had this discussion. The program that Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich passed together has reduced those people on food stamps and all that. That has went down over the years. Tennessee,
Until this president.
Well, food stamps right now is high as it's ever been.
But we've been in a big recession. That's when you expect
now,
the
wait
bit
a
to
minute.
go up.
Get it
I
straight,
don't-
Franklin.
I don't-
Are we out of the recession or not?
39
Supposedly we were out of it 2 years ago.
40 million people on food stamps right
47.
now. 47 million people on food stamps. You know, during Clinton administration, 23 million were there. During the Bush administration, 23.5 million were there. Under Obama administration, how many? 47 million.
47 million. It's gone up from 32 to
I
47.
mean, and he's
But
had
he's
4
the
years. He's had 4 years to fix this stuff, guys.
Okay, in Tennessee that hadn't happened. Tennessee stayed the same for almost ever. We have 1 out of 5 in the state of Tennessee. That's always been there.
Well, do you think that a state should be able to run this program better than the federal government?
Well, we have under the new rule is they give the states more authority, and you have to remember, is the number of people always doesn't mean that we spent more dollars.
Do you think that Mr. Obama's going to let the states have more authority?
He did, and John's been criticizing him in here for the last 2 months.
because he violated federal law.
But no, it's not. Anyway, the caller called in and said that his income went up through Social Security, whatever it is, and then the food stamp. Those are two separate programs, and when your income goes up, your food stamps do come down. And it seems there is some points there. You go. Also, if your income goes up, if you live in public housing, your public housing cost goes up. So,
But
all that goes
Ron, here's one of the problems with federal bureaucracy, and it's really a problem with the goody-good liberals that say they want to help people. If you get someone and you tell him, hey, if you work harder and make some more money, we're going to take some more of your benefits away from you, you disincentivize him from trying to do better. These programs are set up, to be honest, they're set up to keep people in poverty, because as long as you are dependent on the government, you're under the government's thumb, and whoever controls the
Ron-
program controls you.
Ron, let me ask you a question. What percentage of food stamp recipients are permanent recipients?
I don't have that number. There is people who are there. Yeah, there.
As opposed to just transient, they go into the program and then they leave.
But I see people who work in my program who are off food stamps now, off public assistance, because we got them back jobs, and it don't matter what you call the title of the job. If they're making minimum wage or more, they're earning income. That's the important thing. Hey, John used to call us goody shoe liberals, and I'm gonna call you give a darn right wingers in.
We want people to help themselves, Franklin, so they don't owe us anything back. You all want them under control so you can get their votes every time.
Hey, Ron, do you feel like capital gains should go up?
The tax on capital gains?
Yes,
I would like to see it go down myself, yes.
Well, you're against President Obama then, because he wants to raise it.
Yeah.
I don't-
Mr. Obama wants it to go up 28% from 15%.
I don't agree with everything Obama says. I don't agree everything with Romney says. I'll say.
Would you vote for Obama or Romney today?
Do what?
Would you vote for Obama or Romney
I
today?
would vote for Obama today.
Okay.
No doubt about that.
Okay.
I would have voted Obama last week and 2 years ago, 3 years
So
ago.
your mind's not going to be changed no matter what you hear in a debate or anything?
No, I mean, it's not. And I have openly listened for what Romney's had to say, and I'm afraid you don't tell me enough is the thing. Now,
He's told a lot more than Obama has.
That's right.
well,
He's given more details than Obama's put forward. On top of that, Frank, all these things that they're saying Romney needs to put a plan forward on Social Security. He needs more details on Medicare. The president's been in office for 4 years and hadn't put a plan
Hey,
forward.
Ron, capital gains you wanted to go down. How are you on the estate tax? How you feel about the estate tax?
I would like to
death
see it
tax,
go
we
down
call it.
also, or eliminated.
Well,
Well,
okay.
you disagree with Obama on that, too?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I do.
Okay, there's
Well,
two.
Ron, let me ask you a question. Why do you want those two things to go down, and what do you think that'll do if they go up?
Well, they affect my estate and the taxes in my family.
What will it do to the economy?
It's a small portion of what.
Oh, that's absolutely not correct, and you know that. You don't want to say it. If the capital
estate
gains
tax?
if the capital gains tax goes up, it will devastate the economy. Folks, if you want a job out there, let's say you work for a guy who owns a backhoe and a track hoe. Those are hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment, and you're hoping that your cousin or your uncle or your brother is going to get a job with him. Guess what? If he raises the capital gains tax, there's no money in the economy for him to expand. And worse than that, this president wants to raise taxes. What's really amazing is he says millionaires, and then he quietly goes, anybody over $250,000. I'm sorry, I thought a millionaire was someone who made $1 million, but apparently it's anybody who makes over $250,000. But those are the bulk of the doctors and lawyers and small business people and the guy that runs the backhoe service. Those are the people that are making that. And if you tell them, hey, the minute you make $1 more than $250,000, we're going to bump your entire tax rate
That's
up.
not true. That's not what the proposal is, John. You know it.
He's raising
No,
taxes.
no, John, it's not.
What is-
the proposal?
What is capital gains going up to 28% from 15%? What is
What
that?
will that do to the
No,
economy?
no, that's not what he's saying.
No, wait a minute.
He said
Look at
something different.
look at the big picture.
I know, but I am saying, I want to make sure I understand, Frank. Is he not raising the rates, the income tax rates, on people over
You
$250,000?
misstated it.
Is he raising the rates?
Well, let me explain it, John. What he's doing is leaving the rate the same for everybody for the first $250,000 of income. He's then proposed that for income above $250,000 that you get a higher rate at that point. I'm just making that clarification. It's not all your income, it's the income above $250,000. So you pay the same rate on the first $250,000.
Do you think it's fair to pay a death tax?
Yes.
Has that money been taxed before?
Yeah.
So?
So you think it's okay to tax the same money over and over and
All
over again?
income we receive has been taxed before.
No, by the
All
same
income.
person. By the same person, though, Franklin.
Yeah. If you owned, I'm going to let me give an example. If you owned a farm out here, okay, and you'd worked all your life on this farm, and you'd bring blood, sweat, and tears to this farm, you'd sowed your crops, you'd made a profit
Well, worse
from the
than that,
crop, and you'd paid taxes on
and
this.
what was left
and you
over,
and you paid property tax on this property all your life, and you'd paid these taxes on everything you'd done all your life, and then when you get ready to set your wheel up, you want to leave this farm to your kids so that farm can continue to go on. All over America, we have farms shutting down because the inheritance, the taxes on it, they can't afford to pay it.
and Obama wants to raise the inheritance
Well,
tax.
respectfully, first of all, that's not true, John.
Actually, he said he'd like it back
No.
up at the 50% rate.
What he also
55%
what
is
he
what
al-
he's proposing.
what he-
55%.
What he also proposed was raising the exemption level.
It doesn't
which is a
matter.
huge
Here's the
difference.
problem, Franklin.
And the
It's
fact that- and the fa-
fundamentally unfair.
It's not unfair.
It is absolutely unfair.
There's a reason why several of these proponents of these huge multi-billion multi-dollar fortunes have come out and said, please don't get rid of the estate tax.
Because they
Because they
have
think it's bad for the
multi-million-dollar lawyers who find ways around the law that the rest of us have to live
Because
with.
it's bad for the country.
It's like these Hollywood women
not
doing
the
this
tax
ad for
revenue.
President Obama going, oh, I'm worried about, Beyonce's worried about the world her daughter will grow up in. Oh, I don't know. You mean the girl that will be a multi-millionaire who will attend private schools and have every luxury that money can buy? You're worried about her, and that's supposed to tell you that the president connects with real people?
The fact is that very few family farms
Ron, you
have
still
been
there?
affected by the estate tax revenue.
Hold on, go ahead, Ron. We're back now. What's your opinion?
Well, I disagree with Franklin on this. I think the death tax ought to go away or revamped or everything. But most people, I would say Mitt Romney, probably even the president right now, has probably put all their true assets into a trust fund, and they don't pay the death tax anyway. So there's a way to shelter yourself. If you own this 1,000,000-acre farm out here, it will never go into.
That's the problem, though, Ron. Most farmers are land rich and money poor.
Yes.
They don't have the money to hire a fancy lawyer to figure out a tax shelter.
Well, first of all, this year, the exemption rate for the estate tax is well over $2 million.
Right.
Okay.
Franklin,
so
do you know
hold
how
on.
much these dairy farms cost? Do you have any idea
Yeah, I do,
the
John.
actual appraised value of a dairy farm?
I do, John. And
well,
I'm
$2 million
also-
is not a big farm.
And I'm also familiar with what's going on in the industry
$2
right
million
now. And the
is not a
corporatization
big
of
farm.
farms, which is a far bigger issue in terms of what's happening.
The
with
reason they
family farms.
corporatization of farms is because local traditional owners can't afford to do it anymore because of the government.
But it's not because of the death tax.
It is absolutely is because of the death tax.
They can't afford to pay it.
This president wants to take 55% of your farm at your death. Congratulations on the death of your father. Give us 55% of everything he saved after he paid taxes his entire life.
He's also proposed raising that exemption level to $6 million.
But you're missing the point, Franklin. It's fundamentally unfair. It doesn't matter whether it's $1 million or 10 million or 100 million. It's fundamentally unfair.
John, you believe all taxes are unfair.
I believe that when something's been taxed and taxed and taxed, and what little bit you saved out from taxes at your death, the government doesn't have any right to it. You're absolutely right. I think the government has no right to it.
We even have Ron Moore on here agreeing to that.
Every president along the way, Democrat, Republican, none of them have removed it.
But this president wants to raise it to 55%.
And Ron highlights a very important point in this election. Democrats are able to disagree with each other. We don't have to sign pledges to some idiot like Grover Norquist, so we all march in lockstep.
Now, let me see if I got this straight.
Have no
Grover
debate.
Norquist, just an American citizen, because you don't agree with him, he's an idiot.
No, I don't agree
What
with
about
him.
Nancy Pelosi? You want to talk about her?
Well, guess what? We haven't had to sign a pledge to agree with Nancy Pelosi. We haven't had to sign a pledge
Just
to
sign
agree
it.
with
We'll
anybody.
work it out later.
That's what Governor Romney said.
No,
just
sign
elect
it, we'll
me
work
and
it
we'll
out
work it
later.
out.
Now-
That's exactly what his plan is. Elect me and I'll tell you what the details
Actually,
are
that's
then.
the way democracy's supposed to work, Franklin. This president hasn't worked with he didn't work with the Congress when he had the House and the Senate together.
Sure got a
What
awful lot
Romney
of
has
stuff
said
passed,
is
John.
there's a constitutional process. The president proposes and the Congress negotiates. That's what he said. That's the way we've worked for
Sure
200
got a lot of
years.
stuff passed, John, for
hold
somebody
it.
who can't do anything.
Hey, it's 8:30, the magic hour. I want to say a couple of things here before we leave, and I want to.
Let me say one last thing.
All right, go ahead.
There is both right points on the welfare issues. The Democrats have great points. The Republicans have great points. What they have to do is come to the middle.
Amen.
If they come to the middle,
Do you think Romney's more in the middle than Obama?
I don't think either one of them are in the middle. I mean, I think Romney has become right winger, and if you want to call us left wingers, whatever, it doesn't matter what we call each other.
You know, Ron, I think you're a Democrat. Okay, you say you're a Democrat.
Yes.
I don't think you're as far left as President Obama.
Oh, I'm definitely not. I'm closer to the fence than most people. I'm a moderate. I believe there's got to be good financial, the financial parts of the.
Now, where did Romney come from? What state was he in? Massachusetts.
Utah.
Governor Massachusetts.
That's where he's from.
Well, I mean, where he was
from
governor.
Michigan.
Now then, was it primarily a Democratic state?
Well, it's a Democratic state.
And he was able to work with them and get a lot of things
Actually
done
balance
successfully.
the budget.
Let me.
I mean, is that not, from your point of view, would that not be someone that you would get behind to try to run our country right now, knowing what you know's happened in the last 4 years and seeing what's going on?
Let me put.
I mean, from your point of view.
Okay, I'm going to put the spin back on you.
All right.
He was in a Democratic state, and there were Democrat leaders there said, we're going to get things done in this state, and they're the ones that had to vote on it. So Romney had to go along for the ride. So Romney made suggestions, and I'm sure the Democrats cleaned them up and done that way. So it took Democrats and Republicans. So the same thing we need to do in Washington, the same thing.
Well, that's right. And that's,
Romney has a proven track record of cooperating with people.
It's been my way or the highway on everything Mr. Obama's done. My way or the highway on everything he's proposed.
Why would you accept what Governor Romney's saying when he took exactly the opposite view when he was governor of Massachusetts? On a whole host of issues, he publicly said, for example, let's talk about something that's dear to everybody's hearts here. Okay,
right.
He was all for gun control, all for it. Signed bills for it as governor of Massachusetts. That's a fact.
Actually, he explained that last night, that they actually worked a compromise out with the gun owners and with the anti-gun people.
He worked a compromise.
Said, but frankly, the point is he was able to compromise. This guy can't.
Fine, John. But tell me that. Are you prepared to do that?
Bottom line.
Absolutely, Franklin. The problem is when you get George McGovern a couple of years ago writing an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal that the Democrat Party had gone too far to the left. When they're too far to the left for George McGovern, they're too far to the left.
He was pro-choice. He was pro-gun control.
All right, hold on a minute.
Now says he's not.
We're getting into the magic hour here. One thing I want to stay here, Joe, I want to go back because we didn't really talk about the debate before this debate. Ooh. Now, we have a new debate coming up Monday night. It ought to be interesting. But anyway, I want to go back to Joe Biden. Somebody sent me this, and it's a picture of Joe Biden. Go ahead and take the phone off. Picture of Joe Biden during his debate, and I thought it was pretty hilarious when I saw it. It's got Joe Biden holding his hands up towards the sky like he's the great prophet, laughing with as hard as he can, and it says, if a wise man has an argument with a fool, the fool only rages and laughs, and there is no quiet. Proverbs 29:9.
All right, but one end of the spectrum, of course, is Saturday night appointment viewing, and I cannot let you leave this morning without getting your reaction to Joe Biden on Saturday Night Live. Here it is.
I mean, let's be frank. John McCain, and again, this is a man I would take.
One other one someone sent me was during the debate when the chair was set up next to the stand for Clint Eastwood. Now there's another one that's got the empty chair and an empty high chair for Joe Biden. Anyway, political jokes, they're funny. We've had a good time today. Thank you, Franklin. Thank you, John. If you've got any comments you want to make, send them to our Facebook page, whoopfm.com. We'll be back next week with another show. We'll see you next Wednesday morning. Be sure to watch Monday's debate and make your decision and go vote. By the way, early voting starts today.
Good point. Yeah.
See you. Bye-bye.
It's true. I'm not an American. I mean, I was not born in Hawaii. I wasn't born in the United States of America. I come from Kenya. As the Holy Quran tells us, the Holy Quran teaches that, the Holy Quran tells us, and the Holy Quran also says.
You've been listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson, John Stanberry, and Franklin Chansey. Catch them again on Whoop FM at noon today and every Wednesday morning from 7:30 to 8:30. Now, back to more music on Whoop FM.